Welcome back to another episode of Cor Counsel, the show where we explore all things masculinity through 15 portals of conversation. I am your host, professional rugby player for Toulon in England, Kyle Sinckler. My co-host is Oliver James. Ollie has worked as a mentor with professional men within the worlds of sport, entertainment and business for the past decade. With that being said, let's get this show started. As mentioned, there are 15 portals of conversation which all relate to masculinity, which you can see on your screens right now. From here, Ollie will choose a portal, I'll initiate a question, we will then have a conversation for around 10 to 15 minutes on an answer which is directly related to men. Look, we all know you've got things to do, so we're going to get straight to the point. But before we do, I just want to say a massive thank you to our friends and partners at Vivo Barefoot for sponsoring the show. As an athlete, your best ability is availability. And I'm not going to lie, I used to struggle a lot with niggles, especially in my calves. However, whenever I started to wear Vivo Barefoots, I noticed a massive difference, not just in my body, but in my performances. So make sure you check out vivobarefoot.com for all of the latest and greatest in barefoot function and fashion. Thank you, guys. Ollie, what's the portal for today's show, my guy?
All right, let's get the graphic up. Not many left to choose from now, so let's go with one I've been avoiding. Let's go with number 9. Tough guy, please.
All right, let's do it, man. Let's do it. Here we go. Ollie, the obvious word in our portal today is tough. That one word can be viewed in several different ways, okay? So I just want to know from your perspective and from your experience, what does being tough actually mean?
Okay, right. Where would I take that? You know, I think we're all tough. I think if you're male, if you are born, everyone's tough. Men, women, you know, to live is to be tough. We have to provide for ourselves. We have to deal with, when you wake up, gravity's working against you. You know, it's not easy to experience life in the human body. So if you mention the word tough, now if we take that into a male perspective only, which is what this show is all about. From the day you are born, growing up male, it tends to come with certain risks and dangers and a certain type of adversity, particularly of the physical kind. When you say,
I could speaking for myself, 100%, 100%.
Like, for sure, we all get wounded. We're all wounded. Okay, if I stay in the physical, damn sure you're going to have some physical injuries if you're growing up male. Yeah. I'm sure you've got a few. few scars on the face. Yeah, you can even see. Yeah. So there's obviously the other side of it that we don't tend to like. We don't like to look at the emotional and psychological. Maybe the mental side of things. Yeah. As men, that's not really a place we like to go. The internal, the shadows, the darkness. So maybe if we just stay physical for a second, the physical wounds. Growing up male's tough, and you're going to be wounded along the way. Actually, there was do you remember the author of Robert Bly? We did some work on the story of Iron John. Yeah, which I think I've referenced before in an episode before, actually. But there's a story called Iron John, old ancient fable, which really depicts the pathway of masculinity, the initiation pathways, the rites of passage. And there was a man called Robert Bly who deciphered that really well. And he talks in his book about a meeting, an event he was part of, which contained hundreds of men in a city in the US somewhere. And in that room, the man who was taking the meeting, the event, handed out strips of red ribbon. And they passed them to every man in the room and said, could you tie a red ribbon around every single physical, we'll stay in the physical, every single physical injury that you've had on your body? Now, can you imagine hundreds of men in the room, all of them tying red ribbons around the where they've been scarred, broken, maimed, whatever's happened to the poor guys, because that's what happens to us as men. We get injured, we get broken, we act out this tough guy kind of narrative. Why? Because we're wounded.
So true.
Things have happened to us. In acting out this tough guy, which actually is an important word, the word act there. When we act tough, it tends to lead to negative consequences, tends to lead to injuries. dangerous, to risks. Yeah. I mean, if I was to give you a bunch of red ribbons to tie around your body, how many? you look like Iron Man or something. Yeah, you'd be like all red, I'm sure, from playing professional rugby.
100%. Yeah, and probably a lot of men tuning into the show, like you said, it's just like part and parcel of being a man, Ollie. You know, think of the guys even doing like manual labor for a living. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I think that's why. I mean, I can only look at my own body, and I mean, I've worked with clients, of course, where I've sort of run this experiment, not tying the ribbons, but just expressing this point. I know my own body from rugby and martial arts, and if we have worked on construction sites, all these kind of things. There's, if that, I know what's happened to my body. I'm sure. Yeah, I've worked with you for a while. I know what's happened to your body, and every man in this room that Robert Bly was part of, it was a sea of red, basically. So what I'm trying to demonstrate is, being male comes with this danger, this risk. It's just natural. It's going to happen, and I think to combat that, we play this tough guy. We act tough because it does come with danger. I don't know about you, but growing up, I don't know if people club much these days, or I don't know, I don't think people party much these days and these kind of things, but growing up and walking into a club, for example, when I was young, for the first time, Southeast London, like you're kind of putting on this front. I had a shaved head back then, and you're putting on this armor to protect yourself. And then maybe you do things as a young man. You take risks that now, as an older version of myself, I look and I think, wow, like actually I was lucky to get out of that situation, with just that injury or just that psychological scar or just that emotional wound. Yeah, so we're all tough, but how extreme we take that act is going to determine how physically wounded we become, how mentally, psychologically, emotionally wounded we become. And maybe that's a good place to bring you back in, because I think there's a few points there. Maybe you've got something to steer us in that direction.
Yeah, for sure. I think 100% would agree on that tough guy act. Like you said, the key word there, act and persona. And as you were talking then, it kind of came to me, this experience I had back in 2019 while we were preparing for the World Cup for the England rugby team. And like you said, the perception of us as rugby players is we're gladiators, we're warriors, we're tough, we are wounded, obviously, with the job that we do. But we actually, Ollie, had a meeting in the World Cup pre-season, and a psychologist sat us all around, and she said, we're not leaving this room until we get all of the issues that are in this team out on the table. And we were there for about 2 to 3 hours, no joke. And that experience was probably one of the hardest things, if not the hardest thing I've had to do in my career. And it wasn't a game, it wasn't a training session. It was being in a room full of men, and you just had to be completely honest with each other. And to cut a long story short, all the grievances were laid on the table. And afterwards, even though, it's a team environment, not everyone's going to get along, but now everyone knew exactly where they stood. It actually brought us closer, which was strange looking back on it at the time. But kind of where I want you to take it now is, we've touched on the physical, which is basically caused, I'm assuming, from the psychological, emotional side. And that experience I had there in 2019, it made me think, like, why, I'd say as men, is it so difficult for us just to, I hate to say the word, vulnerable, but like honest, and just be real with each other? Because as soon as we did that as a team, I know we fell short in the final, but we became so close as a team, and there was just, I can't think of another adjective, but it was just no more bullshit. It was just like, it was so tough. But once we got through the other side, Ollie, it was amazing. Why do we find it so tough?
Well, I guess someone came into that group in that scenario and created that situation, and what it revealed is that the tough guy act, which creates all of this physical trauma in the body, all of these injuries, these wounds that, maybe demonstrated through that work there by Robert Bly. Because I guarantee if we handed out red ribbons to society, all the men in society, it would be a sea of red. Yeah. So there's a lot of physical injuries that are created, as you said, from the internal stuff. And I'm sure within the team, there was a lot of, maybe you guys had some animosity between each other,
100%.
certain groups, certain partnerships, certain scenarios, and it's all playing out. Maybe you then go and hit someone in a certain way in training and cause an injury. That physical wounding, then all of the physical woundings in the world, where do they come from then? And that scenario is demonstrated. Someone's come in, triggered you all. That's a good word there, triggered. Yeah.
You're bringing back the trauma, bro. Like, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
I swear to you, it was like she just came in. This Australian woman was like, "We're not leaving." Like it felt like we were locked in this room. It was like, "Get it out!" Like, and we just for 45 minutes, no one said anything. You know, it was so awkward. And then I think one of the boys just started, and then it was like everything started to flow out. You know, but like you said, it was triggered.
One brave guy. If I was to sit and have a coffee with you, and instead of doing small talk, we just get into the depths of what's really going on in life, truth, honesty, what's going on within. How do I really feel? When we say, how are you? Rather than giving a surface level answer, what's really going on? If I'm honest and truthful, you're going to be honest and truthful, and perhaps we'll actually get into a conversation that's going to reveal something going on within that's making us take risks and approach life in a way that maybe is more destructive than creative. And, maybe within your team environment, until that woman came in and also bravely confronted you as a group, until that happened, and clearly she triggered you, triggered you all. And then someone else bravely starts the conversation, truthfully, and that enables you to get to the bottom of maybe some scenarios that were playing out physically in the world. All of the physical comes from within. Everything comes from the silence. Everything comes from nothing. Yeah. And that darkness within, where that, all of the demons hide, triggering that then enables you to understand what's really going on when it comes to why you might be physically confronting life in a way that's destructive. And then from there, what if I say that word again to you? You said it, experience. You've had all these experiences. I've had all these experiences. What do we then do with those experiences to benefit ourselves firstly, and then others?
Share.
Yeah, that's the key here. I mean, everything we do, who you are in the changing room, who you are when you're at training, who you are when you're in the clubhouse after a game, who you are on the pitch in front of 80,000 people and beyond, maybe millions, depending on how big the occasion is. The way you conduct yourself based on your experiences is exposing the person you are, the man you are, to a younger generation.
You truly are.
Yeah, who you really are. And once you confront that tough guy, that act, and deal with maybe the internal stuff that's going on, okay, we all hate to use these words, vulnerable and all these kind of things. I hate it. No, who actually wants to sit here and I'm vulnerable? No, we don't want to. Of course we don't. So instead, maybe just say, let's just be truthful. Let's be
real. Let's be real.
Why just be brave? Why just be courageous? Why we just have an honest conversation? And then maybe I'll stop targeting you in a negative way, that even within rugby in particular, that can lead to physical injury very quickly. And then from there, all of our experiences that we have as maybe the older generation right now, the bridge to the younger generation, we pass that on. Young men are going to go through adversity. They're going to create tough characters at some point to protect themselves from what's going on in life. And we can stop them from being injured in maybe the way that we have been.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Maybe the sea of red won't be so red. It's inevitable. Yeah. Every young man's going to be injured. Every young man's going to experience physical adversity. But if we can maybe work as...
Doesn't have to be so severe.
Yeah. Now that you've just told that story, maybe there's some young men watching this going, well, if the England rugby team can do it, then maybe I can talk about what's really going on. Why am I actually conducting myself in this way physically and destroying myself when I could be creating a better reality for me and others? So experience, I think, is a great word there.
Perfect. And for me, that's a perfect note for us to end on the episode. And just a small point from me, guys, just in my own experience, once you do have that first, I would say, tough, brave, courageous conversation, it then leads to more conversations, which then become a lot easier. So if you are feeling that urge to to take a plunge and have an honest conversation and take the first step towards, healing those wounds, definitely do it. Ollie, thank you as always.
Welcome.
Guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all our latest episodes on our YouTube channel, and do not forget to hit that like button. Also, please follow us on all our social media platforms. If you like what you heard from Ollie, make sure you follow Savior World on Instagram and visit saviorworld.com. However, and wherever you're tuning into the show today, we just want to say a massive thank you for your support you have shown us thus far. We'll catch you all next episode. Take care.